Hi everyone, this is Jan, and I wanted to show you how I did the background on these two little paintings before I put all the flowers on. And this background is colors from the new line of PLAID matte finishes, and this is the colors that Andy used on the program to do his peachy sunset. So I thought the colors were really beautiful that he used, so I went ahead and took those colors that he put in the sky, and I decided to put them on the background of these two paintings, and then I'm going to do some florals on the top of it. So some of his colors that he used, and I put it on with just a flat brush. This is like a glazing brush. I use it for pretty much everything I do. And the first thing I did was do the same thing Andy did, and I put on a thin coat of the blending gel. And I used the flat brush to put that on, and you just put it on with a flat stroke first, and you tilt your canvas up to be sure that it's wet, that you got all of the surface. And then once that was wet, then I came in with some white up here in the top of these two, and then we came in with some yellow, some of this yellow here, and then we came in with some of this tangerine color down in here, and the last color that we used was a lavender. When you put your colors on, once you put your blending gel on, and then you cross stroke your colors on, you butt them right next to one another. You don't blend them yet. Then when you come back and blend them, I use the big 3/4 inch mop brush that Paula has on her website, and you can also get them at other places. You can use a really good mop brush for that, and you just fuse your colors together. You're not really fusing anything else on there, you're just fusing the edges of all those colors once you block them in, and that gives you a real feathery effect on your canvas. And once it sets up a little bit, you can come back and re-add some of the colors. I did some of the yellow, a little bit more of the lavender over here, and you can come back a little more of the white, and then just fuse those down, blend them down real soft while it's still wet. So that's how I did the background part, and what I will do is I will come back and I will start the flowers, and we will do the small painting here. I'll go ahead and finish the big one, and then I'll show you how to do a small flower that you can put on the big flower. And these little paintings, we'll be doing them in our classes also, when I do the beginner classes, so we have something else to paint as we go along. Alright, I'll be back and I'll see you in a few. So what I did on this flower was I took chalk, school chalk, like this, and I drew 3 different circles. Well, I put a dot, that's going to represent the middle, and I drew another circle around that, and that little circle was approximately 1.5 inches diameter, and the second circle is probably 2.5, so they're 1 inch apart. And what I wanted to do was go ahead and put a dot in the center, because that is where I want the bottom of my center of the flower, my bud. I didn't want to get the bud too far up here and have all this space in petals down here. So I wanted it right in the center of the flower. If I come down and put a stem, that's the center, that's where everything's going to bloom out. So I like to put a dot, and that is going to be the bottom part of the bud, not the top part of the bud. okay? And I am using a 5/8 inch angle brush. I loaded it with white, and this is an amber color from the new kit. This is Canyon Sunset, and I also used Eggplant, okay, plus the white. And I double loaded first, double loaded it, added some floating medium on the tip of that, and I started on my outside line here, and I worked my way around to some petals. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on around. I'm going to add my little V's there so I know how far down I'm going to come out. And I put these in just real sloppy. I don't, it's not petal per petal perfect type of petal. I want them irregular shapes. You can press down a little bit more if you want, so that you get some of that back color back here. And you can use the back end of the brush to put a little bit more on there if you get a vacant spot right here. Now what I like to do is I like to let these set up and dry before I come back and do another row of petals. And a lot of people paint the wet on wet, but for me, I get my petals real muddy if I do that. So what I like to do is do one row of petals. I've got 3 layers here I want to do, so I'm going to start my second layer. This is all dry up in here other than what I just did right there. So I'm going to pick up the white again, and then I'm going to pick up a little bit of the purple. Now I'm just doing a triple load here. Okay, pick up a little floating medium on the white. Okay, the white is on the toe. And when I come in to do the second row is pretty much going to end right there where the second circle came in. So I'm going to hold on to this, and I like to start them in between here. So I would set my V right in there. And what I'm doing is I don't have my brush up on the chisel. I have it more flat like this because I want a sloppier stroke. And for me, it is easier to do that. Lay my brush off to the side a little bit. To get that messy stroke, because I'm not trying to do a perfect stroke on it. I like to have some strokes that are kind of rolled. See how you can roll some of those strokes? I want it lacy. I want it ruffly. And to get those, I find, for me anyway, picking up a little, I do a little bit of water drops here, and sometimes I'll mix that in my paint because it activates it again. I just take a squirt bottle and spray those little dots on. So then I just keep going around like this. A loop, loop, loop. Let's do another ruffle. See how irregular these are? A little bit more of that, a little bit more of the violet. And you just keep going around. You're not, see, there's my second line here. I'm not real concerned with these being perfect. Not at all. I'm just having some fun doing some little ruffles. Here's a little curve. Okay, and there's your second row right there. Okay, Now this is at the bottom, so I'm going to turn that around like that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do my center part here. Let's go ahead and do that one. Now, I want that a little dark right there in the center. And that's still a little bit wet right there, but I think we might be okay. Lightly going to put on some more white. Now for the center, remember I want the bottom part of the center to be right here with that dot. So when we do the center part, I'm going to come up and over like that. Okay, then we're going to do a short little center. Okay, and let's pick it up over here. Maybe like that. Let's get a little more color in here. I want more violet down there. Alright, now when we come out and do these other little petals, we can just do some of these petals right around this center part here that we just got through doing. Okay, touch. Alright, see how loose these are? These are really loose. As I'm coming around. It's got too much edging on it. I don't want it to have that much edge on it. There we go. Okay. More purple. Now we can shorten up our petals as we come in. Okay. There we go. A few little shortened ones in here. Now when that dries, I think I will come back and I can add some deeper purples in there. But see how the center now matches up with everything we have out here. And I see so many of the flowers where the center's way up here, the bud is way up here, and then you've got a zillion petals coming down here, and it just looks out of balance, you know, for the stem of the flower. So I like to do mine this way, where I put a dot, and that's going to be the bottom of that flower as it comes around. Alright, so there's our flower. I'm going to let it set up. And then I can come back and I can add a little bit of floating on that to deepen the center in there. Alright, be back in a few. Now you can see how much more highlighting that I've done on this flower here. And I usually start off by using a violet or a dark color to get into these little recessed areas, so that the petals will show up more. So I use the violets or the deep blues to get in these areas where it's really recessed. You know, you have your petal coming out and then it goes back in. I put it in the areas that go back in. Now here's a little ruffle here, so I want it back in that ruffle there so that this will show up a lot more. I also want it in the center here to give it depth in the center. And if you leave out the depth in these paintings, then that's what makes your paintings look flat. So I usually start with the darks. I have here, this is probably a 1/4 inch brush, angle brush. I use the angle brushes for all of my floating needs. I like that tip on it. See how it has a little tip right there, That's where your color is going to go, is right there on this tip part. So I pick up the dark color, and then I would pick up floating medium on the back end, and I would blend back and forth until I get a real light area here, which would be kind of transparent on one side on the heel of the brush, and you'd have paint on the toe. And I would come back in and go right up under some of those petals there where it recedes in like that. Then once I have that done, I would come back with, now I did use some of the medium color here, did a little bit of that in some of the areas here. Right after I did that, I applied some of the orange. Then once I had the orange done, the last color that I do is the white. You can see here I had the white, and I re-highlighted some of the area in the center, and I mostly re-highlighted these areas where I made a little ruffle here. Those areas right there need to be highlighted. You may have to highlight them a few times. A lot of times you will lose. See, I just come in and do that little scoop there, so that shows a little bit more, but a lot of times on the ruffle part you will have to add that again. This one is a big little ruffle here. Start up here, come down, and then come back up here. See how much that made that show up a little more? A little, come over here, and a touch, and highlight that, make that another little ruffle. So you're setting your lights and your darks on this so that they show up more. And of course you'll want to do your center here and some of your edges, you know, as you come out here, especially on the whites. The whites tend to dry dull, and you want to re-highlight those. So that is the next thing that I did on this little flower here, was come back and re-highlight, put the depth in, put your medium color in, and then come back with your highlight and add that, and you can see that it really added a nice touch to your little flower there. That way your paintings don't look flat. You have to add that depth and the highlight to your paintings. Otherwise, if you mostly paint in with a medium color, then everything's real flat on it. So you don't want that. You want some depth in those paintings. Okay, that's how you would do your floating. And when we come back, we're going to go ahead and do some greenery on this, and then we'll be finished this little flower. Now for the greenery, I didn't get real picky about the greenery. I added a few of these stem little fern strokes here, and those are just you put your stem like that, and then you come back up and you do a little long stroke. You can start at the tip and come down, or you can start here and go up. Either way, and you're just adding a little short stem, and this is just double loaded with some of the green here I picked up. This is another green that comes in the kit. It'd be the teal color here. This would be Empress Teal, and then I added a little bit of the yellow, and then I added some white to it also. Didn't want it to be real yellowy. And then if you add the teal color to it, this one kind of is that's Viridian, that's kind of a blue-green to that also. And then add a little floating medium to it. Comes out and it makes a pretty little blue-green for you. Now for the leaves, what I did was I just used chalk, and I just drew a leaf on there. And what I'm going to do now is you can come back and put your stem in like that, and then you can come back Might not have enough dark on that. Let's add a little more dark. Then you come back and you can just add, you can scumble in a little bit of a leaf here, like that. Fill it in, put your vein back in. You can even come back with a little bit of white if you want to, if you want to do an overstroke. There's several different ways that you can do your leaves. A lot of times I might do a one stroke and then I'll come back and I'll just take some white and I will just overstroke it with some white so that I have an overstroke instead of a one stroke leaf. I like the overstroke leaves. I think they're pretty. They add a lot of color to your leaves. And another way you could do these is I could do dark. I could do a dark leaf like this. You know, just go ahead and put in a dark leaf, like put the color in. Okay, and then come back, put your stem in so you know where you're coming and going. And then pick up a little bit of the white. You could mix white and yellow with that. Do either one. Then come back and just go ahead and do the overstroke. Right like that. Do your stem again. So that you have a lot of different colors in there. And if it's too greeny, you can always add a little bit of the yellow with some white down here, and you can come back and re-stroke it with some green before it dries up. Anyway, that's how I would do my leaves. If you get it too light, you can come back and go ahead and re-stroke some of the dark back in. There's several ways you can do these leaves, and you learn that in the classes that I teach you, how you can come back and redo your leaves and put in different colors. There's that stem right there. So that when you turn it around, now depending on how much you want to put in different leaves, I think I would even maybe put another one in somewhere in here. It looks a little lonely here, so I might put in another one coming up this way and trailing off like that. Maybe a set that's a little bit lighter, just using some of these greens that I've already got mixed up here. Maybe this one goes in front of this one. And let's see, let's lighten that up a little bit. Got to turn my notifications off on my watch. It's going crazy here. That's what those little pings are. Okay, so this one here, see how much lighter it is because I have it in the front. I wanted it lighter than what I have back here, and you can lighten some of those up. You can come back and just fiddle with it, and remember your light source is coming from the left over here, so keep your left side a little lighter as you're doing this. Okay, so you can come back and float some other colors on top of that. That's the fun part, is doing all the finishing edges to it. Just remember where your light source is. You know, it's up on the left there, so the left side of your leaves and everything, if you're highlighting them, re-highlighting them, you want those to be on that side. But you can come back and you can add some little wiggly strokes, and you can just do whatever you want to do. I like to just come back and add some really stroke work as we're doing this. And you might want, I would add maybe some deeper colors in here. Let's see, it might be too much paint on my brush there. I've kind of lost all the depth in some of these leaves here, and I might want to, okay, watch, start doing that. I can paint this leaf over that one right there, so I want to add a little more depth on that. So I'm just sort of dry brushing a lot of this on afterwards, adding some more brush strokes to it so that it just adds a little more character. Just kind of slop paint it on. I don't know if that's even a word. That's what I do. I just kind of scrub color back and forth on it and get some different variations of what I'm doing on here. I still like the highlight here. Now what I might do is put in a little dragonfly up here, a little butterfly up here, or something else up in this corner. I'm not going to do that with this little painting. I might do it later and show you what it looks like once I get this up on YouTube. I also put a little bit of color on the center there, and just little dots, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of white. It's not showing up. I got too much water on that, but it shows up. I could take some of that off, but there we go. Just blotted it down some so I don't have so much color on it. But anyway, that's how I would do these. Redo the veins right here. I'm just using some leftover white I have right here. I like it when I don't have to be so precise with everything. I can just kind of put in what I'm wanting here. Okay, everyone. That's our little flower that we're going to do. Now I'll finish the big flower, and when I get that done, I'll come back and show you what that one looks like. But I won't be painting on it. This is just the one I wanted to show you how to do the painting with. Alright, everybody take care, and I'll be right back and I'll show you how the big painting turned out. Alright, see you in a few. Okay, everyone, here's our finished paintings that I am offering for the last part of June and July. And if you're wanting to do one of these paintings, you can start with the small one here, or you can go ahead and go with the big painting here. And they're pretty much done the same way as far as the rose, peony. They're just done in different colors. And you will be learning your scruffy brush foliage, your filbert brush blooms. You'll be learning a different type of a rose, one that we just go around in a circle. And then you'll be learning some different type leaves, and you'll also be working with some different colors there. Okay, so if you're interested in these classes here, I will be starting classes. And they will be in the mornings from now on because summertime is here in California and it's very hot here. So for Pacific Standard Time, I will be starting like at 9 o'clock in the morning. If you're on the East Coast, that would be 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when you would start. So I'll do morning classes instead of evening classes for the most part. Now if it's evening, I can do one after 5 o'clock here. Might cool down a little bit then. So anyway, just Facebook message me if you're interested in a class, and then we'll set up a time and a schedule where we can do a private Zoom class for you. Now along with these two classes here, remember that I still have the other beginner classes going on. Let's set these aside here. Now, some of you have already taken some of these classes here, and some of you need to finish some of them if you want to. That's the Poppy class, and then we have the Peony class, and then the first class I recommend, if you haven't taken with me, is this little mop brush class. And this one is really cute. Mop brush class on the leaves and the rose petals. Okay, so all of these classes here, we are using the mop brush to do all of our blending, and we're also using the blending gel. So if any of you want to learn how to work with the blending gel, I would suggest any of these classes here so that you can learn to work with it. It's great. It keeps your time, your acrylic blending time open, and you get a lot prettier blending than if you don't use it. And also we did use the blending gel whenever we used this, when we did this class here, or when I scheduled it and painted it, we used the blending gel for the back there. And the same thing with this one here, the small one, we used the blending gel on that. So you have 1, 2, 3, you've got 5 paintings here that you can choose from to go ahead and come in a class. Now my classes are $25 for a 2-hour session. I was doing an hour and a half, but I was running them into 2 hours anyway, so I went ahead and just made them 2 hours. And we'll go ahead and do them on Zoom. Hopefully Zoom won't have any problems. Sometimes you have problems in the summertime when we have rolling blackouts here in California, so I'll do the best I can do with the Zoom to get our classes going. All right, you have a lot to choose from. Thank you for joining me today and watching a little demo on our class here. Make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you're aware of all of the painting classes and the free demonstrations that I do on YouTube. I'll be doing them throughout the summer. A lot of different things that I would like to do. I'll do some oils, and I'll also do some acrylics. So if any of you are interested, just go ahead and Facebook message me. And until next time, take care. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.